Hi. It was very weak. Hi. Hello. Right. Today I want to talk about the necessity to be able to reassure ourselves on, in fact, a constant basis. Because the winter and the water energy that is within us, it's associated with the kidneys and the bladder. And we, absolutely all of us, have a need in our daily lives to shut the noise outside of us. Now, there's always contradictions and paradoxes in what I say, because there are people who are soothed and reassured by noise. So what I'm meaning about noise on the outside is something slightly deeper. And what I mean is that when we get to know ourselves, which is an extraordinary gift we can give ourselves, we begin to identify what it is that really works for us. And actually, irrespective of what everybody around us can have an opinion about. So there are masses of people out there that will give you their opinions or even share what works for them. But there aren't many people who will give you the time and the space to work out what works for you. So I'm going to talk generally about the need to reassure ourselves, because the opposite of the hyperactivity and the adrenalized societies and the bombardment of marketing and the bombardment of news, all of that actually gives us, the average human being, a sense of anxiety and chemical overload. Physically, mentally, spiritually, chemically, I'm repeating, mentally. And our bodies get overloaded very quickly. So the opposite of that is to deliberately practice reassuring yourself and going at your own pace. And the winter season is a time for hibernating and hunkering down and taking care of ourselves in a very, very kind, gentle, reassuring way. Because nature always gets her way, and water always gets its way. A drip that is not noticed actually will keep on doing its job of dripping. Now, in the same way, we have this extraordinary resilience and tenacity that is underlyingly in our DNA. And even though we are being shown from the outside that we are almost less than, and if we don't have our banks full, or if we don't have the latest fashion accessories, or we don't have nicest friends, or we don't have the right job, or it's this noise. If we don't, then that indicates that we are less than. And to reassure ourselves that that is simply not so. We are okay as we are, even if we are living with chronic conditions. So one of the things, I'm just going to end with this, is one of the most phenomenal things about having the conditions that I was born with and the people I work with were born with, and masses of people that I work with, they either were born with chronic conditions or they've ended up having chronic conditions. And to a certain extent, they live with layers or pain or suffering. It can be economical suffering, it can be relationship suffering, it can be living with layers of isolation. And it's tough, it's really tough. But one of the privileges actually that comes out of that is you can start realizing how resilient we are. And you're almost forced into making the choice of getting to know yourself and getting to know what your inner resources are, because the outer resources aren't so available, which the paradox of life is when you are at your most fragile and your most vulnerable, and when you would like to have the most reassurance, often it is not there on the outside. People don't know how to respond to chronic conditions. Even medically, people don't really know what they're doing. So it is up to us to go into an internal journey and adventure of learning what it looks like to reassure ourselves. So right now, I'm not going to give you any tips, except I'm going to invite you to just ask yourself the question, what reassures me? What does it look like? What does it sound like? And please, please respond to this and share what works for you, because maybe something that works for you might work for somebody else. Thanks very much for listening. Take care. Bye-bye.